Hey guys, it's Kenny here from the FantasyFanatics.com and the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, bringing you my cash game cornerstones for the Masters, my favorite tournament of the year. Super hype about it, and I'll actually be on the course for a practice round on Tuesday. So I'm headed down to Augusta tomorrow. I'm recording this on Sunday night. I got a flight at 7 a.m., so I'm really excited about that. What I'm not excited about were my cash game cornerstone picks for the Shell Houston Open. 1 week after my very first week of only getting 2 of 4 through in the 25 or so cash game cornerstones, I broke that record last at the Shell by going 1 of 4 through the cut. Not a record I really wanted to break. I've been on somewhat of a dry spell in cash games for a while. And, when it comes to the video, it hasn't really shown up that much other than the last 2 weeks where I've still been going 3 of 4 or 4 of 4. It's just usually the other 2 picks that I play have been playing like crap. Well, now it's sort of bled over to the actual cash game cornerstone pick. So we're going to try and fix that this week. But before we get to that, let's go over my picks from last week. They were Ricky Fowler, J.B. Holmes, Patrick Reed, and Rafael Cabrera-Bello. Fowler was the only one to make the cut, and he played well. He finished in third with a score of -16. J.B. Holmes played like crap, just like a whole slew of other high-priced, big-name golfers, including Jordan Spieth, Adam Scott, Henrik Stenson, who also all missed the cut. It looked like a lot of golfers weren't too motivated with the crappy, wet course conditions early in the week, all the mud balls, and they just wanted to get to Augusta as soon as possible. I stated in my article last week on ProjectRoto.com that this could be a possibility where we could see these higher-end golfers who are already in the field at Augusta maybe not trying as hard as possible, but I actually said that shouldn't play too much of a factor, because it really hasn't in the past. This is the first year where it looked like it played a big factor. It could have been just because of the wet conditions. It didn't maybe look like Augusta as much as the Shell Houston Open or Golf Club of Houston should have because of the wet conditions, because of the mud balls. But I was definitely wrong about that. People definitely did not really care, it looked like, when it came to this tournament. Holmes played poorly. He left for Augusta on Friday, missed the cut. Rafael Cabrera-Bello and Patrick Reed I thought were very safe plays. Even though Reed hadn't been playing too well, he's been making a bunch of cuts. And combined, these guys, these two, Rafael Cabrera-Bello and Patrick Reed, had made 47 straight cuts, including, no-cut events, combined. That's 47 straight cuts combined between the two. And they both missed the cut last week. I don't know what was going on. Definitely a shock to the system. But overall, it was a tough week for basically everyone, as only about 2% of lineups got 6 of 6 through after the MDF on Saturday. If the cut stayed at -1, there was a little fluctuation on Friday with the cut between -1 and even. If the cut was -1, it was close to 0% would have gotten 6 of 6 through. So I'm going to chalk this up as an outlier. I'm not going to put too much into it, and basically I'm just going to move on to this week because I'm excited. The Masters is here. The pageantry, the drama, the beauty of the course. Jim Nantz thinking that we're all his friends. It's an exciting time for golf fans and for DFS players this week. A lot of big prizes, both on DraftKings and FanDuel, including the Millie Maker. Now we focus on cash games here on this video, and I think it's actually a great week to load up on cash games because you're going to get a lot of people who don't normally play fantasy golf, PGA DFS this week. Since most people who play DFS are bankroll sensitive, they'll be shelling out $33 a pop for a Millie Maker lineup. They'll want to probably hedge by playing some cash games, by playing some double-ups, by playing some 50-50s. These people are usually not as experienced in cash games for golf because, they're probably only playing it to try and win the $1 million. And there's going to be a bunch of those people, casual people this week, a lot more than a normal week of fantasy golf on DraftKings and FanDuel. And so I think it gives people who play week in and week out just a little bit of a slight edge in cash games this week. Now, I could go over the course, but everyone knows it pretty well by now. If you want a detailed explanation of the course, check out DFS Jimmy's article in the Strategy Center on thefantasyfanatics.com or check out my article on ProjectRoto.com. Both course descriptions are free to read. Now, some of the stats I'm looking for on the fantasyfanatics.com spreadsheet are going to be strokes gained tee to green, birdie or better percentage, strokes gained approach, par 5 scoring, a little par 4 scoring, driving distance, and strokes gained around the green. I'll be weighing these stats at 45% on the spreadsheet this week. I'll be weighting recent form at 30%, and I'll be weighting course history at 25%. I'm giving a little bump up to course history because course knowledge is very important here, as we've seen, no Masters rookie win here since 1979. We see a lot of the same names near the top of the leaderboard year in and year out. Knowing the intricacies and the subtle nuances of this course are very important. So now let's get on to the picks. First up, it's going to be Rory McIlroy at $10,600. Rory is actually going to be my pick to win this week. Rory seems to get the hang, has seemed to have gotten the hang of it at Augusta with 3 consecutive top 10s here. His current form solid. Since his return from injury, he's had a couple of top 10s, and he's shot under par in 7 of his last 8 rounds. Now, we could go over his stats, but really it's not that necessary. We know he's a beast in all facets of his game other than putting. Really what it comes down to, when it comes down to these top 3 guys, Rory, Dustin Johnson, and Spieth, there's no bad plays. Stat-wise, all 3 of these guys are head and shoulders above the rest of the field. All can easily be used, and I'm a fan of all 3 this week. But I like the savings you get with Rory. A little bit cheaper than both Spieth and Dustin Johnson, and I think basically an equal chance of winning. I also like the possibility that the course could be soaked. Heavy rains are in the forecast at Augusta Monday and Wednesday, with an inch or more of rain and some hail maybe expected on each of those days. The last time Ricky won a major was at the 2014 PGA Championship. Lots of rain that week, and the course was wet. When Rory won the 2014 Open Championship, they actually had to start play on Saturday with split tees because of rainy, bad weather conditions, and they don't normally do that at the Open Championship. Everyone usually starts off at 1. In Rory's second major win at the PGA Championship in 2012 from Kiawah Island, rain early in the week made the course play extremely soft, and the rain delay plagued basically all 4 rounds there. And Rory's first major win was in my backyard at Congressional Country Club. I was there for the U.S. Open that week, and it was sloppy and wet all week, and he just ran away with that tournament. If this rain is as heavy as they are saying Monday and Wednesday night, the course will be soft and much longer. And it looks like it's a perfect setup for Rory to complete his personal Grand Slam. Now, even if the weather's wrong, I mean, I'm recording this on Sunday. The weather could definitely change. It could be dry as hell. Who knows with these weather forecasts. But even if it isn't that wet, that won't mean I'm moving off of him. I still think he's my favorite to win no matter what. All right, so next up, it's going to be Sergio Garcia at $8,400. I like both Spaniards in this price range this week, but I'm going to give Sergio the edge over Jon Rahm in cash games, at least, due to his experience at Augusta. Sergio has played this tournament every year since he was the low amateur in 1999. He's had his ups and downs here, but has made the cut in 7 of his last 8 appearances with 3 top 17s, with a high finish of 8th a few years ago. Sergio is one of the best drivers of the golf ball out there with his blend of accuracy and distance. He's also been hot from tee to green recently, gaining over 22 strokes on the field in his last 3 events from tee to green. He's exceptional with his long irons, which he'll be using a lot of on the long par 4s and 5s and some of the par 3s. He'll use them even more if the course is wet. He's also a good chipper, and he's been hitting a lot of greens recently, as he's been 9th, 14th, and 7th in green and regulation in his last 3 tournaments. Now, there is a little bit of a narrative at play with Sergio as well. He's got his personal life in order as he's engaged and supposedly happy. I know this is just a narrative, but Sergio has been known to be mentally fragile on the golf course in the past when things aren't going well in his personal life. Back in 2009, he blamed his poor play that year in interviews. He actually stated this in interviews that he blamed his poor play on the breakup with Greg Norman's daughter that he had earlier that year. He actually admitted that, which I thought was a little bit strange, blaming his poor play on a breakup with a girl, but that's Sergio. He stated in interviews that the breakup led to him not being able to perform on the course. Now, with him being happy in his love life, it has already paid dividends on the course as he won in Dubai earlier this year, which was the first tournament he played after the announcement of his engagement. Now, again, this is just a narrative. You can choose to believe it or not, but even if you don't, he's been playing well recently. His stat fits, and he's uber experienced here. I think he has a good showing this week, and at the bare minimum, I think he makes the cut. All right, so next up, it's going to be Paul Casey at $7,800. Now, Casey has a good track record here as he's finished inside the top 12 in 5 of his last 10 appearances, including a couple of top 6s the last 2 years. You know, he's been great with his irons recently, gaining nearly 15 strokes on the field with his approaches in his last 4 tournaments. He's also been inside the top 20 in green and regulation in those 3 tournaments as well. His other stats for the course are extremely solid. He is 18th in strokes gained tee to green, 58th in driving distance, which is definitely long enough to contend here. 26th in strokes gained approach, 68th in birdie or better percentage, 5th in strokes gained around the green. Really good with his short game this year, and that could be helpful with these, shaved edges on these greens. You got to be exact and hit these greens right where you need to, or you're going to have to get it up and down on these firm, fast greens to make par. And he's 19th in par 4 scoring. Other than one bad round at the Arnold Palmer and one bad round in Mexico, he's been playing really stellar golf. And at this price point, you could roster him and have plenty of room to fill out the rest of your lineup. All right, so my final pick, it's going to be Kevin Kisner at $6,800. Now, I was going Kisner Hadwin the whole time. They're both good plays. I think both are going to end up in my cash lineup. But for my pick, I'm going Kisner just because he's played the course before. And I know that's not the biggest thing, but at Augusta, it might be a little bit more important than other courses. The stat that jumps out at me also about Kisner is that he's 8th in strokes gained tee to green this year and 7th in strokes gained approach for the year. Now, only 3 players in this field have better total rankings in those 2 stats than Kisner, and their names are Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, and Rory McIlroy. So that's pretty good company for Kisner this week. He's short off the tee, which could be a slight disadvantage, but we've seen short hitters succeed here before, but they need a couple of things. Like Zach Johnson, for example. If you're going to be short here, you're going to need to have an exceptional long iron game, and you're going to have good short games. Now, Spieth also, when he won here, was a little bit short, so let's put those 2 together. Zach Johnson and Jordan Spieth. Both of those guys have finished in the top 5 in proximity from 200 to 225 yards at least once in their careers. Kisner is currently 31st in proximity from 200 to 225 yards, and last year he finished the season 2nd in this stat. He's also top 30 in strokes gained around the green this year. Kisner is so far. So if you plan on rostering shorter hitters at Augusta, make sure they're solid with their long irons and have a good short game, just like Kisner. Now, other than stats, Kisner is coming in hot to the field, to the Masters. He has 4 top 11 finishes in his last 6 events and should have won Bay Hill. Leishman, who I like as a sneaky play this week in GPPs, made a 51-foot eagle putt on 16 at Bay Hill to dash Kisner's hopes and take that trophy by one. I actually took Arnie's cardigan, and he won that by 1 stroke. Kisner played Augusta last year for the first time and finished in 37th place, and he is a semi-local to Augusta as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he'll be sleeping in his own bed this week. All right, so that's going to be it for my picks this week, so let's recap. My 4 cash game cornerstones for the Masters is going to be Rory McIlroy, Sergio Garcia, Paul Casey, and Kevin Kisner. Now, make sure you check out all the great info the fantasyfanatics.com provides. There's so much stuff that is only on this site that you can only get here, like the lineup the lineup builder, the stack model stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff here that I don't even know all of it, because of course I am an old man and I don't use technology very well. But if you're technologically savvy, make sure you check out all these great tools that thefantasyfanatics.com has. It is by far one of the best sites that you can use to help you in your PGA DFS game. All right, guys. Good luck. I'll be live tweet. I won't be live tweeting because they don't allow phones at Augusta. But I will be tweeting out some information. I'll be at the practice round at Augusta on Tuesday. So make sure you check my Twitter feed at KendoVT. And good luck this week, and let's all win some money. All right.